Okay, so apparently there is a horrifying new law that targets Christians. So I want to know what it is. Let's go. Also, I've been
Hey
watching this.
guys, Colin here, and welcome
Oh,
back to Fight for Truth, the channel where we bring you Christian commentary about
take it
the
away.
things that matter. In today's video, we're going to be talking about a horrifying new set of laws in California that, if passed, will inevitably target Christians. The first thing we need to recognize here is that California has become an increasingly more difficult state to live in for people with common sense and, more specifically, people with Christian values. The people who run the state are frequently just as immoral as they are self-absorbed. For some good case studies, just take a look at Gavin Newsom, the state's governor, and Nancy Pelosi, who's a longtime congresswoman there. Both are high-profile Californian politicians, and both are ethically bankrupt, to say the very least.
Damn.
But now, ladies and gentlemen, the progressives in California have taken their hatred of biblical values to the next level. This time, they have decided to propose two new laws that will actively persecute biblical Christians if they are passed. And by the way, stick around to the end if you want to see how much these insane laws are going to cost Christians in California who pay their taxes. I won't keep you in suspense, so let me tell you what these laws are. Law number 1 is proposed legislation AB 957. And this law governs which parent will get the child in the event of a custody battle between two former spouses. But here's the kicker. This law makes gender affirmation a deciding factor in cases like this. In other words, if you are a biblical Christian and you don't believe that your child should be allowed to transition into the opposite gender, there's a
Damn.
good chance that your child...
Not even only like for biblical Christians too, because Muslims live in the United States of America too, and the people from other cultures around the world, immigration, right? People come from Africa that are not necessarily Christians, but it's just against their cultural beliefs and you know historic ethical way of living to accept such a grotesque lifestyle. And people come here and they want to find a better life, and then they come here and the government takes your kids away from you because you don't agree with letting your child do that shit, you know what I mean? But also, like, why is the government making a point to separate families? Why do you care about what people do with their kids? Are they your kids? They're not your kids. Why does it matter what someone, unless it's like physical, like grotesque, like a grotesque case of physical abuse, or like I don't even know. I can't even give an example of when it's okay for the government to intervene. There probably is, but I can't think of one off the top of my head right now. But it's like, if I don't want my child to live a certain way, it's my decision because they're my child. You know what I mean? Anyway, it's crazy.
will be taken away from you. Just let that sink in. Perhaps some of you don't believe me. Here's what the law says verbatim. In custody disputes, the court will consider, quote, a parent's affirmation of the child's gender identity as part of the health, safety, and welfare of the child, end quote. So get this. Not only are they suggesting that the affirmation of your child's gender confusion is important, no, they are saying that it's just as important as things like caring for your child's health and safety. So if you are a terrible person who hates your children and wants them to be unhealthy and unsafe, according to this law, that's pretty much just as bad as disagreeing with their gender identity. Think about how insane that statement is. And why on earth should any government have the right to take custody of your child away from you on the basis of this factor? This is effectively forcing Christian parents to choose between their children and their faith. And if you disagree with modern gender identity, you are someone who does not care about the health and safety of your child anymore. You might as well be actively harming them. That's how this law will view you as a Christian parent. So hear me out, guys. Let's just think through some of the implications of this law. First, this means that if you have a spouse who is divorcing you on account of you disagree with transgender ideology and whether or not your kid can be trans, that parent not only gets to divorce you, but they also get to keep the child. And as if that wasn't bad enough, now that parent has all the incentive in the world to encourage your son or daughter to continue being transgender. What could possibly go wrong here, I wonder? Second, notice that there is a slippery slope just around the corner here. That's always how it starts out, right? It starts out with just custody battles. In fact, more specifically, just custody battles where the child identifies as a different gender than they are biologically. So these are pretty rare cases, right? We're not expecting a lot of them. Well, sure, that's probably true. But why should we think that it would stop with just these cases? You see, once the law has been established here, they now have precedent to change the law anywhere else it suits them. Suppose a parent has a...
Literally what I was just thinking. I feel like this is just a... how do I say this? This is like... They do it in steps, okay? They make little laws like this and then they change it from just like... making it a gender thing to maybe if your child wants to, I don't know, commit a heinous crime, like they make something legal, and if your child doesn't want to partake in it and you disagree, they make something legal and if your child wants to partake in it and you disagree, then they take your child away from you. Like, it's just like, what's the point in breaking the family units in United States, in North America, is just very, very broken. First of all, divorce rates are crazy high. Children are being separated from their families. This continent has the highest rate of single mothers or single fathers. It's insane. And it's just like, why aren't these governments promoting family, like a strong family unit? Why are they trying to incentivize people to divorce their spouses, to separate their children from their fathers, or they have programs for single mothers, so it gives you a safety net to not be with your husband or your boyfriend anymore and then just break up with him, and it's detrimental to the life of the child. I know this not like first hand per se. My parents are still together, but they almost got divorced, and during my childhood when they went through all the things that they went through, I'm glad they stuck together and they are still married today. Because if they divorced, even though their marriage was very abusive, I'm glad that they are still together. I think the marker of a strong marriage and a strong relationship is, for better for worse, sticking through the bad times and the good times. My parents have seen the best times ever and they have seen the worst times together. And growing up, I've seen that. I don't even want to go like into my own personal life like that, but I don't think the government should, unless I think the only thing that the government should intervene regarding the family unit is divorce. I think divorce should be illegal. I don't think anyone should be allowed to divorce their spouses, except for one or two reasons that I might have to really think about. But I think on the surface, divorce should be illegal, period. I feel like to keep the sanctity of marriage in a geographic region, like in North America, for example, people should learn to hold their families. I don't even want to talk too much, but you guys know what I mean. But anyway, let's get back into the video.
A child who identifies as transgender, and they want that child to attend church so that they can hear the gospel and be taught the word of God and be corrected where necessary. It used to be the case that the parent gets to decide which religious ideals their child will be taught.
Yes.
But not anymore. Because you see, that parent is not just disagreeing with their child's worldview. No, they are
disagreeing with the government,
the health and safety and well-being
of the child.
And therefore, it is perfectly reasonable, given the definitions established by this law, that Child Protective Services, for example, would be able to take the child away and bring them to a new home with different parents who support the LGBT worldview.
Why?
This is what's at stake here. What about adoption? Suppose a Christian couple wants to adopt a baby. If they do, a government official is going to come into their house and judge whether or not they are fit to bring a child into their home. And if they disagree with transgenderism, then their home is disregarding the safety and well-being of any child who steps foot into it.
That's
and therefore,
crazy.
they shouldn't be allowed to adopt. Do you see what I'm getting at here?
Yeah.
This is what the
There's a family in my church who have been struggling to adopt this baby, and the other option is the baby's older aunt, who is like a drug addict or something. Like, she's crazy. And it's like, okay, this is a Christian family, they go to church every Sunday, every day. I see them in church every Sunday. Why is this so hard for you guys to just accept the adoption for this child? Why? It's obviously because they are a very conservative, traditional Christian family, and what he's saying is exactly right. Like, it's harder for a Christian family to adopt a child because of your beliefs. So how is me not believing in certain things detrimental to your health? Your health. I don't believe that Toyotas are better than Hyundais. How is that detrimental to you? How does that have anything to do with you? But I guess it makes sense because you're living under my roof. But like, hey man, this is crazy.
enemy does. According to Jesus, the devil was a liar from the beginning and the father of lies. John 8:44. He's a thief who comes to steal, kill, and destroy. John 10:10. And the Democrats in the state of California have evidently aligned with his demonic mission fully. They will not stop with just this law. This pernicious worldview will not rest until all Christian influence in society is wiped out, at least on the things that really matter. But this isn't the only law that they're hoping to pass at the expense of Christian values. The other law is perhaps even more shocking. This one is entitled SB 729, and it has to do with health care coverage in the state of California. The law says, quote, a policy of disability insurance that covers hospital, medical, and surgical expenses shall provide coverage for the diagnosis and treatment of infertility and fertility services, end quote. So what does all that legal mumbo-jumbo actually mean?
Please explain, because I don't know.
Among other things, it covers the cost of fertility treatments for people who aren't capable of having children. But Colin, I don't see what's so bad about that. Correct, on the face of this.
Well, male gay couples and perhaps lesbian couples.
There seems to be no obvious issue for most people. The problem is that the law does not just cover fertility treatments for infertile heterosexual couples, a man and a woman, as you would expect. No, it also covers the fertility treatments of
a man and a man.
homosexual couples. Now, surely it doesn't take a rocket scientist to explain why that's insane, but let me give it a shot. Since most people can't process basic definitions in modern society, let me clear some things up. A heterosexual couple, a man and a woman, is the only kind of couple that is capable of producing a child ever. There are zero exceptions to this rule.
Yes.
The Lord made them male and female. Genesis.
Bro, you don't even need to quote the Bible. You don't even need a Bible verse. Bro, okay, it's common. Even a newborn baby that has never read the Bible knows this. It's common sense. You don't even need to quote the Bible. Saying that a man and a woman are the only union that is capable of making a child, it's common sense. It's science. You don't even need Bible for that, bro. It's just common sense. Okay, don't worry about this. You're fine, you're correct, move on.
127. By contrast, a homosexual couple is never able to produce a child between themselves, ever.
I agree. Unless the woman identifies as a man, and then the man is now technically dating a man, and now they're able to get, because I hear them say that, oh, a man can get pregnant, and that by man they mean like a natural born woman who identifies to be a man. If I say that I'm a woman and I go date an actual like biological woman, but technically we are still able to make children, right? Because I'm a woman and she's a woman, and if we have sex and she gets pregnant, she gave birth. So they would now say that a lesbian couple was able to conceive and make a baby. You know what I mean? Which is is it because I said it? Bruh. And I'm not saying I agree or I disagree with this. I'm just echoing what he's saying. Whether I agree or not with the entire ideology of this, it doesn't matter. And that's not even my point here. It's just like, that is interesting. It's interesting.
Couple is never able to produce a child between themselves, ever. And there are zero exceptions for this rule as well. So when someone needs fertility treatments, it's because they are infertile by comparison to other people in a comparable position. That's why, for example, we don't give fertility treatments to chairs, because chairs aren't infertile.
I love this guy. I love him. He said that's why we don't give fertility treatments to chairs. Bro, that's fire.
Designed
That's
to
crazy.
have babies.
Yes.
And in the exact same way, a homosexual couple is not infertile. They're simply
But then they would also say, "Oh, you're comparing a gay man to a chair." It's like, yes, because a man cannot. It's the same thing. A chair and a man are infertile, so it's a valid comparison. Yes.
simply not biologically designed to bear children, ever. So to imply that a homosexual couple is somehow in the same category as an infertile heterosexual couple is so incredibly asinine and frankly offensive, it boggles the mind. The logic here is non-existent. It's like saying that a bullfrog is the same thing as a Boeing 737 airplane, because neither of them know how to tie their shoes. This only makes sense to a person if they've lost the ability to formulate a rational or ethical thought.
This is
And
funny.
this is what life looks like when you abandon God.
Yes,
Does the Bible not
I
say
agree.
that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom? Proverbs 1:7.
Yes.
So it goes without saying that when you abandon God, you
Proverbs 1:7. Fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and instruction.
abandon the way of wisdom. And that is precisely what we're seeing here. But this gets even worse, because if you're a Christian in California and you pay your taxes, that means that your hard-earned money will be used to pay for gay couples to have kids. If you believe that a stable two-parent household with a mother and a father is ideal and biblical and the best way to raise children, just know that the state of California not only completely disagrees with you, but they have no problem using your money to accomplish that end. And let's run.
I really hope YouTube doesn't censor this guy. I hope YouTube doesn't strike his channel for hateful rhetoric, because that's crazy. Like, they can censor you for just what you're saying because they don't agree with you, because it's a hateful rhetoric. It's you're inciting violence in a certain community. I hope that doesn't happen to him, man. Just let him say his thing, bro. Just go to Rumble. Go to Rumble and say your shit, bro.
Some numbers to see how much this is going to cost Christians in California.
Yeah.
Here are some of the most popular fertility treatments and their costs. IVF, or in vitro fertilization, costs $15,000 to $20,000 per round of treatment. Egg harvesting and storage costs $7,000 to $10,000. And surrogacy, which is an option that male homosexual couples would have to pursue, costs a whopping $100,000 on average.
Jesus.
This is what the state of California is using your tax money to accomplish, so that small, impressionable children can grow up in unnatural and sinful households that hate God and the values given in His Word. These laws are absolutely an attack on Christian values. So
things like this make me want to raise my kids in Nigeria, bro. Like, shit like this makes me want to just raise my kids in Africa, and then bring them back here when they are 16 or 17. Like that's what my parents did for me, not to me, because I think it's a good thing they did for me. Damn. Did you see this picture? God damn, not my child, bro.
So here's my question to Christians. What exactly is it going to take for you to stand up and say enough is enough? Does the government actually have to come into your house and threaten to take your kids away for you to finally see what's happening here? You see, while most American Christians are sipping lattes at their local seeker-sensitive church, listening to a pastor in skinny jeans tell them how to follow their dreams or something like that, the woke LGBT movement has been changing society at a fundamental and legislative level. And while most Christians are arguing against videos just like this one because my tone is too mean and hurtful, the LGBT movement has been taking action against Christian values. And make no mistake about it, these are just the first of many laws that they will try to pass. So if you attend a church that refuses to speak clearly on these social issues, I recommend finding another one. If your pastor is more afraid of offending the seekers at his church than he is passionate about speaking the truth, I recommend finding a new pastor. Read the harsh words of Paul in 2 Corinthians chapter 11 when he calls false teachers servants of Satan. Read the harsh words of Jesus in Matthew 23 when he calls the Pharisees sons of hell. These were strong men who risked offending people in the pursuit of speaking truth in love as they knew they had to. And don't get me wrong, I'm not suggesting that Christians should become mean-spirited and jaded and angry. I'm suggesting that we become biblical. Let's stand up for the truth of God's word and bring it to bear in our lives and in the lives of those around us. Don't bow for a second to the spirit of the age. Don't surrender for a moment to the LGBT mob. Stand up for the truth of God's word. I pray this has been a blessing to you. And please know this video is not meant as a sinful attack, but rather...
W, man, I like this guy. That was a very good monologue. I like his videos. I watched some of his videos. He's very clear with what he's saying. He's very concise and he's straight to the point. Yeah, I like him. If you guys want more reactions to him, I don't know his name, let me know in the comments. I'll get to it immediately. Peace.